Digimon Data Squad is one hell of a season. I could say for me, it probably stands out the most considering the fact that the protagonist is the only one to actually punch Digimon, which I feel is one of the only things that gets brought up, or one of the first things that get brought up when you talk about Data Squad. It's kind of like how when you mention Frontier, people would say, oh yeah, that's the one where the kids turn to Digimon. It's kind of like that. But honestly, regardless, I still think the season's pretty alright. I feel like it has one of the better villains in the show, and I just like a lot of the evolutions and stuff like that. But regardless, this season still does have a bunch of different names with the main cast, and today I will go over that. And again, I will only be going over the main heroes, and I will also be going over the main DATS members since they also do play a big part of the season. Season also did have a different name in the West because over here it's called Data Squad, while in Japan it's known as Digimon Savers. And I'm just gonna put this out there for Digimon Adventure NO2. I think they had a slight name change or how they were called in the West. I don't exactly know how accurate this is, but I assume back in the day they were just called Season 1 and 2 without any like side names like how they have in Japan. But I think they were just again called Season 1 and 2 back in the day, but then they were called Adventure and 02 later on because I feel like after the internet really started becoming a thing, people just saw that they were called those, so everyone just started referencing as that. I'm not exactly sure, but because I grew up with calling it Adventure in 02, so that's why I just assumed, but I'm just gonna put that out there if you have any questions. And I didn't reference it in the first videos just because I didn't really think it was all that important. But other than that, let's actually get to the protagonist, and let's start off with Marcus Damon. And he actually does have a slight name change where in Japan he's known as Masaru Daimon, which again to me pretty much just sounds like a more Western take on his name. Then we have his partner Agumon, and he has the same exact changes as Tai's Agumon, but I'll just quickly go over it here just because I feel it's still necessary. Baby Flame goes into Pepper Breath, and Baby Bono goes into Spitfire Blast. Its champion level, Geo Greymon, stays the same, but its main move, Mega Flame goes into Flame Breath. And that's pretty much all the changes regarding this Agumon's line, so I won't talk about it. Then we move on to Thomas and his partner Galmon, and Thomas does have a name change. It's a similar case to Marcus, where it feels like more of a Western take on his name, where in Japan he's known as Tonma. And Galmon, on the other hand, does have a name change also, but it's only in its moves, or main move. Gal Rush can either be called Speed Jab, or it can go with its original name in English. Then it doesn't have any change with its champion level, but it does have a minor change in its ultimate level, Mach Galgamon. Galga Tornado can either be called Galga Tornado, I guess it's Tornado with an E at the end, or you could just go with the original name. But frankly, this change just feels like how in Japan, Wizardmon just spelled without D, so just one little change, I guess, but again, it's not a big deal. Other than that, it doesn't have any changes until its Burst Mode. Mirage Galgamon Burst Mode, its main move does change, where in Japan it's called Full Moon Meteor Impact, and it can either be called Meteor Shackle, Moon Meteor Impact, or it can go with the original name. Also, I want to add in that the evolution scenes actually have a slight error in the dub. As I mentioned in my Tamer video, the evolution names kind of have a different names in between languages, and in Data Squad it actually shows what evolution they're going to go into starting from Ultimate, and in the dub it actually shows the Japanese names, so when they go into Ultimate it shows Perfect Evolution, and the same thing with Mega where it shows Ultimate Evolution. This change I actually didn't notice, or like this error I guess I didn't notice, and I always found it kind of weird now just because it's just the wrong evolution, and I'm surprised that no one at the dubbing company noticed this, but honestly I think it's just really funny how no one mentioned it, and in the dub it's just fully there, plain as day. Then we have the third party member of the group, and that's Yoshino and Lalamon. Her partner Digimon is the one with the changes here, so let's go talk about that. The moves are what changes here, not the name, so let's go over the moves. Nut Shoot goes into Seed Blast, and Singer a Song goes into Lullaby. And then we have no changes until Rosemon, and yes, this is a similar case to Agumon where this character shares a evolution with a previous one, and that has to be Mimi from Eventual, but nonetheless, I'll still go over the changes here. Thorn Whipping goes into Thorny Whipping, or it can be called Thorn Whipping, or it could just use the original name. Rose's Rapier goes into Rosesphere in the dub as well. We have Rosemont Bowspelled, and it does have a move change. Argun Chant Laves becomes Kiss of Breath in the dub. Then we also have the child of the group, and that has to be Keenan, and in Japanese he's known as Kaito. His partner Falcomon does have a move change, and that's Shu Rin Rin Ken becomes Ninja Blade. And then its champion level doesn't have any changes, but its ultimate level does. And with the name of the Digimon, I think it's a very slight change because in Japanese it's Yatagaramon, but in English it's Yatakaramon, which I think it might just because of a language difference, but that's pretty much it. At least that's my guess. Its moves also do change, where Mika Futsu no Kami can either become Savage Emperor or Spiritual Kick. Haguro can either become Black Feather or Blackout. Then we have the Mega Level Ravemon, and in Japanese it removes the E, so it's called Ravmon in the sub, and again, I feel this is just a different pronunciation, so the English version just added an E. Its moves also do change, and in this case, Ami no Ohabiri, I think, goes into Celestial Blade. Its boss mode also does have move changes. Musho Tenso Yuki no Jin becomes Crimson Formation or Musho Tensho. Daito Yami Kuro no Mai becomes Morning Dance, and Raiko Ishin no Tsuki becomes Lightning Thrust. And as I've mentioned, I will be covering the other DATS members, and I think it will be a good place to start with the captain, Richard Sampson, and his partner. But with the captain, he does have a name change where in Japanese he's called Samsu Rentaru, which again, I feel in the case of the dub, it was just a way to make it more Western, so, there's not really much of a deal there. Kudamon, on the other hand, only has move changes, and with that, Dangan Seppu can either become Tolling Tackle or Bullet Whirlwind, and Zeku Sho can either become Shiny Piercings or Blinding Ray. Rapamon stays the same, but its moves do also change. Kuro Rekuzan can either become Rolling Tackle or Razor Wind, and Juga Renki can either become Lion Claw or Fang Attack, and finally, Shenku Kametachi can either become Razor Wind or Vacuum Kamatachi. Then we have the ultimate level Tillamon, and in a similar case to Repamon, its moves does have a more Japanese name to it, so bear with me. Shippu Tenshoken can either become Wind Cutter Sword or Skyhorn, and Junsuki no Koroi becomes Knowledge of Swift, and Kashi no Habu goes into Holy Wave. And we move on to its Mega Kentorismon. In Japanese, it's known as Slightmon, and its moves also do change. Bifrost can either stay the same or become Infernal Frost, and Odin's Breath can become Icy Breath, or again, it can stay the same. Then we have Commander Yushima Hirose and his partner Keimon. They do have the same names between languages, but Keimon does have different names for its moves. Met Tackle can become Total Tackle in the dub, Pointer Arrow can become Onward Arrow, and Kuro Attack is called Shell Attack. Then its evolution, Gawapamon, has a very minor name change where it has one less A in the dub. Its move, Gawapa Punch, is now two separate words and has an extra A at the end of Gawapa. Then we have its ultimate, Shawjamon, and in Japanese it's known as Shawajimon, which, in case if you want to know how to spell it, since I think I pronounced it terribly, in Japanese it's spelled Shawugi, while in English it's just spelled Shawja, so of course there's a bigger difference there. Along with that, some of its moves do change. Koyo Jo Kamon no Jin becomes Hydro Tornado, and Koyo Jo Taki no Jin becomes Hydro Descent. Its Mega Jumbo Gaemon doesn't really have any changes whatsoever. Finally, we have the final DATS member Megumin and Miki and the partners Chessmon. Also note that they basically have the same partner, but one of them has Chessmon Black and the other one has Chessmon White, but I'm just going to count both of them as one just because they basically have the same exact changes, just one is black, the other one's white. But this doesn't really matter since the only changes in this evolution line has to be Chessmon themselves. they just have a single move change, and that is Pawn Sphere goes into Bone Sphere. And that's all the changes made to Data Squad, at least with the main heroes. And honestly, without having the Death members, I feel this video would have been a lot shorter. The commander and the captain sure did have a lot more changes to them than the main hero, since a lot of them had either like a change with like 1 or 2 evolution, then that's pretty much it. But regardless, there were some pretty interesting changes in this season. But before I finish the video, I'm just going to give up a heads up for the series, and I will be finishing the main hero ones for up until the Death General arc in Digimon Fusion, since Young Hunters Who Leapt Through Time never got dubbed. Along with that, Atmon never got an English release, so of course I will not be covering that. This is the last one I will be doing for the main heroes. If the last part of Fusion ever got dubbed, I will of course do that. Same goes with Atmon, but in this case, the main hero part will end, and I will probably cover the main villains sometime in the future. But regardless, thank you all for watching, and see you guys later.